What is up, my friends? Let's talk about Knives Out. So I got the chance to see Knives Out about 2 weeks ago, I would say. The movie is out next week, but there is some early screenings. So if you've seen an early screen, you're probably here. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you watch it, but maybe you just don't give a shit to watch it, right? So let's just get on with it. Knives Out. This movie is a basic whodunit by Rian Johnson, the director of The Last Jedi and Looper. Now, you might hate him for Last Jedi, you might love him for Looper. I myself fit somewhere in the middle. Not talking about that here, we're talking about Knives Out. So this is basically a whodunit, as I said, with Daniel Craig playing Detective Benoit Blanc, a very, very prestigious private detective who always gets his case solved. So this movie basically deals with Harlan Thornberry, somebody who is very wealthy. He is a novelist of crime, like sort of things, like a whodunit type crime stories as well. He comes from a very dysfunctional family, and he is having his 85th birthday on his remote mansion, and he is found dead by the members of his family. The police don't know what the hell's going on. Benoit Blanc is actually called to investigate, but he doesn't know by who, and everybody is a fucking suspect. What the fuck is going on? So I'm just gonna say right off the bat, we learn right, I would say, at 1/3 of the movie that the one who killed him was actually Ana de Armas' character, Harlan's caretaker, Marta Cabrera. Now, Marta Cabrera was actually trying to give him his medicine when she accidentally gave him morphine, and he ultimately knew he was gonna die. They didn't have time to call an ambulance. He was like, go, I don't want them to think it was you, I'm gonna make this seem like a suicide. And then he does this. So we are left knowing this throughout the rest of the movie as we see Benoit Blanc sort of catch on to what's going on, and Marta Cabrera just trying to cover the tracks of what's actually happening. It isn't until the will is read when the family basically turns on Marta Cabrera, who they've been so far saying, oh, we love you for what you've done with dad and everything, and you are somebody who we're going to keep in mind as somebody who will help out no matter what. But no, when the will is read and they find out that Harlan actually left all of his money to Marta, that's when the family just turns on her, and they're like, you did it, you killed him because you wanted the money, all of this. And she's basically getting ambushed by everybody, but in comes Chris Evans' character, Ransom Thornberry, and he takes Marta with him to a restaurant where they discuss everything that happens, and Marta actually tells him everything. So before I get into that, why would Marta do this? Well, Marta does have a thing where she basically vomits if she's lying, and we see this happening throughout the first third of the movie. And then Chris Evans basically sets her up, and he's like, now you're gonna tell me everything because I know if you're lying. So she has to tell him everything. He's like, oh, I'll help you, we'll get this all figured out, I won't tell my family what you told me, but I want a piece of my inheritance back. So they're basically going to work together now to try and prove it was all basically a suicide. So when they go back, we learn that Marta gets a note saying that somebody knows what she did. She tells this to Ransom, and he's like, we have to figure out who this is. Then they see that the place where the corpse was at actually has gone into flames, and now they are like, okay, now what? And he's like, we have to go find out who this is. Turns out Benoit Blanc is at the scene. He sees them in the car, he chases after them, he arrests Ransom, as he says that he believes Ransom was making Cabrera drive him around, and they were trying to basically cover the tracks of Ransom. Cabrera is still like, I need to find out who's actually the one sending me these notes, and Blanc is now in her car because he's like, I'll ride back with you. So she has to make a choice. She has to either go and find out who knows what happened and pretty much put an end to it all, or just go about her day but not know exactly what's going to happen with that. So when they actually start driving, she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go find out what's happening. She makes up an excuse, and it turns out that it is Fran who was in the store where they were assigned to meet. Well, we come to find out that Ransom actually was planning all of this, and he was actually, like, from the beginning, even switching the medicines so that Marta Cabrera would not know what medicine she was giving, but it turns out that she did actually. Okay, so I can go deep into all of this, and it's going to get very, very confusing if I do. So let's just go on with this. Let's try to simplify it as best we can, because this is the part of the movie where you really listen, and Daniel Craig has this long speech about explaining everything. So I'm just going to break it down into the easiest terms I can. Ransom is behind it all. He's behind it all from the beginning. He pretty much was the one who switched the medicine after that night when he found out that the Harlan was going to cut him off from everything. He's the one who did this because he was like, you know what, fuck you. So he switched the morphine with the other medicine so that Marta would give him that medicine, and pretty much knew that he was going to die. The reason, however, that Marta didn't in fact give him the wrong medicine was because that she knew the viscosity of each medicine, because she is a very, very well trained nurse. So Ransom was actually the one who burned down the place because he didn't want the DNA evidence or toxicology, whatever, to come back and show that he was never, I'm talking about Harlan here, Harlan was never under morphine or anything like that, so it couldn't have been Marta who killed him. So Ransom knew this, so he was like, you know what, I can't take any chances, I'm burning this place down. So in fact, Harlan wouldn't have had to commit suicide, because since the medicines were switched and the one that Martha thought was morphine wasn't actually morphine, he was going to be fine. But ultimately Harlan did kill himself because neither of them knew this. So Ransom finding this out, and now everything's more complicated because it looks like a suicide, was basically like, you know what, now I have to figure out a way to get my money because nobody's going to figure this out. So the only way was, after learning about what happened with Marta, was to basically say, oh, I know what I can do now. I can trick her into thinking I'm on her side, and we'll get all this solved, because nobody's ever going to put the blame on her, because it's pretty hard to do that. But somebody did know what was going on, and that was Harlan's housekeeper, Fran, as she saw Ransom go and get the evidence when everybody else was at the funeral. She is the one who actually sent the note of, I know what you did, and the one who was basically like, I'm gonna like tell everybody what happened. Ransom finds this out. He basically admits to her everything, and then he attempts to kill her. He puts her in that position now when Marta goes to the store, where it seems that Marta is the one who did it, because Fran is just saying, you did this. But in fact, she's saying Hugh did this. And Hugh is Ransom's first name. Hugh Ransom Driscoll Thornberry. Ransom was behind all of this, and he basically admits to it all, and then he gets put to jail. And that's where our movie ends. And the family, who were such assholes to Marta throughout the whole movie, are now looking up and see Marta with the mug that says, "This is my house." And the movie just ends there perfectly. So I know that was a lot, and I mean, you can get lost with that, and I am so sorry, because that's the only way I can explain it. And I'm missing chunks in there, like I'm missing the whole whodunit with the other family members. But if I go too in depth with this movie, I will definitely have a 20-minute video, and I don't think anybody wants to see a 20-minute video on this movie, like, right? So basically, Benoit Blanc knew that Marta Cabrera had something to do with this, but he wasn't too sure exactly what the whole story was. Ransom was the one behind it all, because he wanted part of that inheritance, and he basically thought, what better way to do it than to blame Marta, because I know she's going to get everything, and if she's the one who ends up coming up in the police report as killing Harlan, she gets nothing, and the will goes to default, and we all get our shares. Turns out that doesn't happen exactly how he wanted it to, so he has to switch to another plan, which is to befriend Marta and then basically take his part of the inheritance by helping her, supposedly helping cover her tracks and not being caught. What he doesn't count on is Fran the housekeeper finding out what he's doing, Benoit Blanc being very cunning and knowing as well that Marta Cabrera really had nothing to do with this. What ends up happening is that Fran, the housekeeper, actually did keep a copy of the toxicology report, and Marta knew exactly where she had it because this was a secret stash that Fran had in the home, and she finds a toxicology report. And this is as Marta is about to tell the family that she is the one who killed Harlan, but as Benoit reads the report, he's like, fuck no, you did not kill him. There is nowhere here that it says there was morphine in his body. This is just a suicide, and it's all a misunderstanding. You're not going to tell the family that, and you're not giving up the inheritance. And by the way, Benoit Blanc actually also figures out that Ransom is the one who paid him to do the investigation because he believed that Benoit would find that Cabrera did it and basically implement her and have her go to jail. So, yeah. Very long movie, and if you're still listening, my goodness, thank you for listening, because there was no other way I thought I could explain this movie any better. But anyways, what are your thoughts on Knives Out? I think Rian Johnson did a tremendous job. I think he really knocked it out the park with this one, and I am excited to see what he does with future movies as well, whether he is still sticking with his Star Wars trilogy or moving on to something else entirely. I am here for it and cannot wait to see what that is. And the way that Ransom gets discovered is he basically admits to everything because he believes Fran isn't dead. So there is no way they can incriminate on him on anything of that because nothing's like going on. But he gets tricked once again. Fran actually is dead. It's just Marta Cabrera was making up that she wasn't. So he would confess to it, and he does. So Ransom goes to jail for being a piece of shit. Marta Cabrera keeps the house, and the family is left jealous, envious, without a damn dime, because all of them were pretty shitty people in the end of it. But anyways, as always, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? 10,000 subscribers, let's get to it. That is our New Year's goal. By New Year's, let's hit 10,000 subscribers. I think we can do this. I think we can. I'm so pumped for this. And also make sure you like, comment, share, all that good stuff. I'll see y'all next time. Stay positive.